order to go to war, in order to have revolution, you gotta have the armor. We fighting poverty, y'all. We fighting lack. We breaking curses. We gotta go. So I want you to understand, we gotta have this armor of wealth.
It is almost biblical to say God wants us to be good stewards of wealth. It's biblical. You know what I'm saying? So there's nowhere in the Bible, nowhere in any other religious book that you read where God tells us to be poor. There's no other book that he tells us not to be stewards of money. But he also tells us the consequences of not being good stewards of money. He also tells us, and Jesus even gave us parables about people not investing in money. So I always use that as my anchor.
Without further ado, if you could please welcome Mr. Leon Howard to the stage. Come on, guys, up, bro.
Thank y'all. It's definitely an honor to be here. Privilege. Thank you, brother. Building wealth is actually connected to your relationships, because there are people who know things that you do not know, but they know things that you need to know. Let me say this. I also speak of wealth from a perspective where I tie God into what I do. Deuteronomy 8:18 is one of my favorite verses in the Bible, and here's why. It says that God gives you the ability to produce wealth. It says that God gives you the ability to produce wealth. And he doubles down and says, because it is part of his covenant. The ability is the key word in that. And the reason why the ability is the key word in that is because that means you already possess the capability to do something. But in order to have the ability means you must sharpen it. In order to build wealth, you must sharpen the tool. How do you sharpen the tool? Information. Consistently. One of the things I tell my people often is this. In order to make $100,000, you must be willing to lose $10,000. In order to make $1 million, you must be willing to lose $100,000. In order to make $10 million, you must be willing to lose $1 million. I stand before you a man that have done it all. Did 100,000. I've did 1 million. I've did 10 million. But I've lost everything that I just told you. The biggest issue that most people have with building wealth is the ability to face a loss and not be anchored to it. The biggest issue that people have when it comes to building wealth is the ability to take a loss and not be anchored to it. Meaning the residue of the loss doesn't ride with you the rest of your life. The poverty mindset is not just about lack. It's about the trauma that comes with losing money. It's about the pain that endures when you see money that you worked hard for no longer does the thing that you thought it would do. So Jesus gave us 39 parables. Between 14 to 16 of those parables were about money, which means 1/3 of his message required us to understand money. So you cannot really understand God if you don't understand money. See, my message hurt. My message hurt because I'm going to make you step out the box and I'm going to tie my message to the thing that we truly believe in, which is God. Proverbs 10:4, diligent hands do what? Build wealth. So I'm going to talk to us about investing. I'm going to talk to us about the market, but I got to talk to us about God because money is that. I love the stock market so much because it allows me, a man who fit every statistical category that America has placed on me, and it still allows me to be a multimillionaire. So that means it allows you to be the same thing. Ownership doesn't care who has it. A stock doesn't care who buys it. A building doesn't care who builds it. Most people will find crutches. Most people will find excuses on why things won't work in their favor. A chosen few people will find a reason why the game is made for them. I am one of those people. There's a financial philosophy that most of us don't abide by. Rule number one is a dollar that isn't moving is a dollar that's losing. So that philosophy directly coincides with, let me put my money in the bank because that's the safest place forward. Rule number two is, I want to get as much back on my taxes as possible. The reason why that is because if you're getting money on back, a lot of money back on taxes, that means the system is still using you the way it was designed. So I came up with this idea, y'all, and it's called the armor of wealth. Because building wealth is actually going to war. Building wealth is actually a revolutionary act. And when people go to war, when people have revolutions, it simply means that you are going against a system that you feel wasn't designed for you. Now, I'm not talking politics. I'm talking poverty. I'm talking check to check. I'm talking having more month left than money. I'm talking about passing down generational financial trauma. I'm talking about going to war with that. I'm talking about putting ourselves in a position where we now understand what prosperity really looks like. And so the number one safeguard in this armor of wealth is the belt of financial literacy. People don't like the term financial literacy because it makes them face the truth that you don't know about money. As a grown-up, the worst thing you want somebody to tell you is you don't know how to. I know how to pay my bills on time. I know how to balance my checkbook. But do you know financial strategy? Investing in stocks becomes the easiest way to build wealth in America. Why? Because you can buy billion-dollar businesses without paying $1 billion. I don't have to build the next Apple. I don't have to build the next Tesla. I don't have to build the next Google. I don't have to build the next Microsoft. I don't have to build the next Facebook, but I can own every one of them. The game, it isn't as complicated as we think. And so the one thing that we must do is revitalize and re-strategize our ideas and our concepts around wealth. There are generations behind us that are dependent on us. And I want you to ask yourself a question. When you leave, will you have been the asset or the liability to your family? Has my bloodline gotten better since I've been here? Or have I taken away from it? I have this dope idea that when I pass away one day, because we can't avoid that my family looks at me and say, he is the reason why we are here now. Not only did I position them, not only did I expose them, but I left them documentation. The market is a mechanism that will print money no matter what you've been through, no matter who you are, no matter where you start. If you think $1 million is a lot of money, you got a whole lot of growing to do. I promise you. And it seemed like a lot of money because most of us come from nothing. And we thought, if I get $1 million, I'm good. I promise you, when you get $1 million, the problems just start. But here's what the government says. You make $1 million, I could tax you more. Because only 2 out of every 10 people that make $1 million understand how to navigate the tax game. So off that $1 million, they already know they're going to get $350,000 from you. So be mindful of what you ask for. One of the things I tell my people is every time you get paid, every time you get some money, you should be putting at least 10, 15% of that money on the side, ready to invest. Now, here's the issue that most people have. Financially, I know y'all looking like, Chad, don't fall off that stage. But financially, most of us live our life on a financial edge. And so because we live in our life on that financial edge, we can't afford to make no mistakes. We give ourselves no room. We max everything out. With no discipline around money, you cannot be successful. I used to think people was crazy when they knew how they spent every dollar. Like, why are you paying attention to that much? No. You need to. Because money, watch what I'm about to say here, y'all. Money is a faithful servant, but a wicked master. If you control the money, it will do exactly what you want it to do. It will not buck you, but if you let it control you, it will pound you to the ground. If you do not tell it what to do, it has no control over what it wants to do. It wants to do everything. How do I know? How many people here work overtime before? How many of y'all spent the check before you even got it? Why? Money always want to go somewhere. Let me bring you to a parable right here. One of my favorite ones right here. Y'all heard the story of the talents before, right? So I ain't gonna get into the whole story. I'm gonna tell you my favorite part. My favorite part was when the master went to the servant who had one, and he said, I buried it. He said, you wicked and slothful. Because if you knew that I have sown, that I have reaped where I have not sown, why didn't you not give my money to the banker so that we could live off their interest? And so he punished him by taking it from him and giving it to somebody who knew what to do with it. Now, let me tell you something about that parable, why it's so dope. One had 5, one had 2. The one that had 5 turned 5 into 10. The one that had 2 turned 2 into 4. But here's what we got to realize. They both got 100% rate of return. So stop comparing how much money you got to how much money somebody else got. Just let's look at the returns. Let's look at the returns. If I invest 100,000 and get 50,000 back, and you invest 1,000 and get 1,000 back, you made a better investment. Y'all ain't get it. The reason why you ain't get it because you're looking at the money. The investment world don't work like that. They don't care about the money. They're going to say, what was the return on investment? Yeah. So stop looking at how much money somebody made. But here's the dope part. When I can tell you we made $1 million in one play, is because we put $400,000 in that play, and that play ended up being worth 1.2 million in about a 4-month time span. That's an amazing return on investment. And I ain't just talking, we document everything and we show it to everyone. It's one thing we like to do. I'm probably one of the only people on social media that show how much they win and how much they lose. Because I never want you people to get the idea that all I do is win. I just win more than I lose. And that's the nature of the game. Yeah. That's the nature of the game. If somebody come to you saying, you ain't gonna lose no money, I want you to walk away as fast as possible. Right. If somebody tell you it's just this easy, I want you to walk away as fast as possible. Poor people always look at the fastest way they can make money. Poor people always look at the fastest way they can make money. I have a saying. Poor people live check to check. Rich people live year to year. Wealthy people live generation to generation. If you go look at the top 10 richest people in the world, 9 of them have companies that are public on the market. The other one is a Saudi Arabian oil company, and they're not here on the market. You don't become the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th richest person in the world without having quality. Now, let me tell you something that's dope about that. I did research. I'm a researcher. I am what you call a rabbit hole person. I will go down a rabbit hole and live there. I will not come up for air unless you pull me out of there. And I realized that at least 45% of the richest people in the world, their wealth is tied to stocks. It made me realize something. So here's the nature of it. You build a company. You take that company public, which means you put it on the market. Instead of going to a bank and get a loan for that company, you sell a portion of that company to investors. You take the money from the investors and you build that company. You still can be a debt-free company. Why? Because you didn't take a loan from a bank. I took your money and I gave you piece of ownership of my company, which also makes you a partial owner. I use your money to increase the quality of my business. Here's the dope part about it. I love investing in companies that are still run by the founder because they still got skin in the game. So I buy shares of my own company. I don't pay myself a lot of money, but I compensate myself in stock in my company. Oh, y'all missed that. Most companies who are still led by the founders don't pay themselves a big salary. They might pay themselves $1 million. Actually, Warren Buffett went on it was a point in his career where he paid himself $1. And I asked myself, why would you pay yourself $1? Well, it's kind of different when you're getting 350,000 stocks. Stock-based compensation becomes a thing. So you look at a man, and this is how the media will fool you. The media fool you because you'll look at TV one day and say, this man has lost $12 billion. And you're like, dog, that's a lot of money. But he ain't lose that money in cash. The stock just went down. And then if you wait long enough, you hear the same media say, this man has made $44 billion in network this year. And you wonder, dang, he made $44 billion? Well, the stock just went up. Question, how much has your stock gone up? How much has your net worth increased? Not based on how much hard work you did, but based on the investments you made. My goal here is to make you think. My whole goal here is to give you some nuggets along the way that make you understand that you can better position yourself. That's the goal. Because Proverbs 10:4 says, diligent hands build wealth. Are we diligent?